Hi, this is my review of Curses and Gifts for MYFAROG by Varg Vikernes. Curses and Gifts is a supplement that supports and enhances the spiritual aspect of MYFAROG. Now let's talk about the quality of the book. This is a softcover book. It's sturdy, but I would handle it with care so it doesn't get creases and wrinkles. The quality of the paper is good, everything is well written and organized, you have a table of contents, and you have a few illustrations in the minimalistic style of MYFAROG. Now let's talk about the content of the book. It starts with a small introduction and the origin of man according to the MYFAROG background. So it's basically about Heimadaltar, as many of you know, that was being seduced and deceived by these different female entities, and he produced different races because of those unions until he finally found the right woman, the right female entity that was beautiful, wise, and strong, and produced the race of the children of Thul, the children of the Iron Age. There's also the Fairling myth that because the Fairlings they are specific people that believe that the gods do not exist as so, or rather that they exist as spirits of nature, and that everything was produced by the Fairlings, by powerful sorcerers. Now, I think there is an important moral here when it comes to the creation myth of MYFAROG, because Heimadaltar seems somewhat easy to deceive and lustful. So I guess it's an analogy of how men could act somewhat dumb when they are driven by their urges. So that's an important thing, and it also, I think it's like a quest for a man to find the right woman. So that's very interesting. And you have details on cultural background, because depending on your birthplace, you will have a specialization or training in different skills. So for example, if you were born in you have the Asu birthplace, you have foraging, tracking, and trickery. Or maybe you have Erulia as a birthplace, and you have melee, poetry, and writing. Now this is for male characters. Female characters have a bit more flexibility or variety, because no matter the place they are born, they have a lot more freedom of choice when it comes to the skills. They could be trained in acting, crafts, healing, foraging, religious traditions, singing, etc. Maybe it's to represent the different roles according to the different regions of MYFAROG. Now you have alignment. Alignment in MYFAROG is quite different from other role-playing games, because many role-playing games have an alignment system of good and evil, but here you have an alignment system based on attitudes. So you could be contemplative or ecstatic, you could be harmonic or disharmonic, you could be spiritual or materialistic, you could be sympathetic or you could be unsympathetic, and you have neutral, which is kind of like a category on its own. And depending on the configuration of attitudes, you get different alignments. So for example, someone who is contemplative, disharmonic, materialistic, and sympathetic is Aphrodite. And neutral is its own category, as I was telling you, and you are known as a chronic if you are neutral. And you have in details on alignment and races, because different races or species tend towards specific alignments. And you have alignment and life stance, so that is concerning the sorcerers of MYFAROG, depending on their path, so to speak. They have a specific traditional alignment. And then you have details on birth date, for example, the specific character attribute modifiers that you will get if you were born on winter or spring or summer. And you also have details on deities and the deities that are friendly to those deities, because you will get a few bonuses depending on how you act and your general attitude towards deities. You could end up being favored by deities if you act towards their favor or their friendly deity's favor. But if you try to act, let's say, honorable towards antagonistic deities, well, you're going to lose some favor with the deities that are enemies of those deities. You have information on different months of the full Thulian year, many details and random tables depending on how you want to determine such information. You have information on exact birth date, pretty much everything to customize the time in the context of the era of MYFAROG. You have details on advanced religion. So for example, maybe you want to put a bit more depth or complexity into favor points, and so you do not regain them automatically. You have to do different things to regain them. Maybe you dedicate the fallen foes in battle towards a specific deity, or you perform some other kinds of services. And sometimes these services need to be performed in special groves or temples and such. And you have deities, that is, how deities interact with one another in sort of like an intriguing fashion, because gods in MYFAROG have a very strong presence. They are that almost invisible force shaping things and determining the outcome of many important situations, maybe conflicts or maybe something related to diplomacy between different regions. So in intriguing deities, you have more details on that. Of if a character gains favor points in relation to this deity, he loses the same amount of favor points in relation to this other deity. Again, you see that somewhat antagonistic relationship between different deities. You have details on religious differences, because depending on different regions, some deities could have different names, sometimes even different genders. Sometimes they represent different aspects of a same divine essence, so to speak. So for example, in the region of Elinea, Vodanar is actually Hermes. So you have different correspondences between the deities, their names, their portfolios and such. And then you have the section of curses and gifts. Of course, you need a section on curses and gifts, because this is the title of the book. And here you have many positive and negative things that you could obtain when acting in favor or somewhat friendly manner towards different supernatural creatures. So if you help a dwarf, you may get a dwarf gift. Or maybe if you did something bad to a dwarf, you could get cursed. And all of these curses and gifts are related to things that are within that specific domain of a supernatural creature. So for example, if it's something related to a nymph, all of the nymph's gifts are related to water and love, but their curses, for example, you insult a nymph or you hurt a nymph in some way, well, the nymph curses are going to be like unfulfilled love, water curse, and such. I did find a small typo here in page 28. It says light elf curses, so it should be light elf curses. Well, you also have details on procreation and the end, and this is quite nice because, for example, maybe you conclude a campaign and your character had a child, and maybe you want to play as that character's son or daughter in a future campaign, and here you have the rules for that. Okay, let me tell you what I think of this book. I think this is a must-have because it contains many useful information, both mechanical and thematic. It really expands and supports what is presented in the core rulebook, because there are some core rulebooks that feel somewhat incomplete and you have to purchase different supplements and expansions to fill in the gaps. But the MYFAROG core rulebook has a lot of information already, and here it supports that, so it feels like an enhancement of the MYFAROG core rulebook. So I do consider this a must-have. Get it immediately, get it with the core rulebook, or get it soon afterwards, especially if you want to add a bit more depth and flavor to the world of MYFAROG. Specifically, interactions with deities and supernatural beings, and add more details for your MYFAROG character. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.